We all understand the basic idea behind the Lincoln assassination. We understand that it was John Wilkes Booth who entered Ford's Theater on April 14th and shot Lincoln in the back of the head. But what if we could know more about this story? What if we could go beyond just the idea that he was a president that was shot and killed by John Wilkes Booth? Well, the book Killing Lincoln does just that. This book breaks that barrier of the idea that he was just some president shot by someone who hated him. So today I'd like to share with you 3 reasons why you should read this book before you go to college. The first reason is that the book goes deep into the plot. Second reason is that college U.S. history classes will cover the assassination. And the third reason is that it's written like a novel. The first reason to read this book before you go to college is that it goes deep into the plot. The book covers more than just a general story. If I was to ask you what you knew about it, you may say exactly what I said in the opening, that he was shot and killed by John Wilkes Booth on April 14th at Ford's Theater in D.C. and died a little bit later. That's it. But did you know that there were 2 other assassination attempts planned for that night? An excerpt from the book, page 199, talks about it, where Lewis Powell was sent to kill Secretary of State William Seward. As Frederick Seward accepts the vial, Powell turns and takes 3 steps down the stairs. Suddenly he turns. He sprints back up to the landing, drawing a Navy revolver. He levels the gun, curses, and pulls the trigger. There's an example right there of another assassination attempt going on that night. So see, the book covers more than just the one thing that we know, that John Wilkes Booth shot and killed Lincoln. The Secretary of State and the Vice President were also set to be assassinated that night. So think of how much smarter you'll feel after you've read this entire book and you know the assassination attempts behind it, the events leading up to it, even who John Wilkes Booth's girlfriend was. Think of how much smarter you feel when you can talk to someone about it and you can tell them that there were 2 other assassination attempts going on that night, and they can look at you and say, "Really? There were?" So the first reason to read Killing Lincoln before you go to college is that it goes deep into the plot. The second reason to read Killing Lincoln before you go to college is that college courses will cover the assassination. Right now I'm in dual credit U.S. history in high school, and we've already covered the Lincoln assassination. But to be honest, it was quite boring. We covered exactly the same material that's in this book, but it was all note-taking and lectures. The book doesn't do that. It doesn't lecture you. It brings you into the book. You are immersed in the story because of the way it's written. Think of how good you'll feel when you've learned everything from this book and you have a test over the Lincoln assassination in your U.S. history class, and all your friends groan and gripe about it, and you can take the night off because you already know all about it, because you read the book and you understand exactly the same thing that he covers in 4 hours of lecturing. So the second reason to read Killing Lincoln before you go to college is that college history classes will cover the exact same material as in the book. The third reason to read Killing Lincoln before you go to college is that it's written like a novel. The book does take time, I'll admit that, but it gets interesting. And the way it's written, during that time it takes, makes it so much better. On History.com, which covered part of the Lincoln assassination on a web page, they said John Wilkes Booth entered Ford Theater in Washington, D.C., where he fatally shot Lincoln. Sounds pretty dull, right? Now let's take a look from the book here. John Wilkes Booth takes a bold step out of the shadows, dagger clutched in his right fist and knife in his left. He extends his arm and aims for the back of Abraham Lincoln's head. No one sees him. No one knows he is there. If it was up to me, I'd choose the book because it's more interesting. It's more immersing. Rather than say it in the past tense, this tells it in present tense, which makes it so much more captivating and gripping. That makes the book so enjoyable, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it just as much too. So the third reason to read this book before you go to college is that it's written like a novel. Today I've shared with you 3 reasons to read Killing Lincoln before you go to college. First reason is that the book goes deep into the plot. The second reason is that college U.S. history classes will cover the assassination. And the third reason is that it's written like a novel. This is the easiest way to thoroughly learn about the Lincoln assassination, so I encourage you to go pick up this book and learn something new about history.